Welcome everyone to Tap In. Today, I think we're going to speak about astrology and therapy. That is a common topic here on this channel. So, welcome to you, Gabrielle Perez.
Thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be here, and I love what you're doing on your podcast and how you've been bridging these topics. I think they go so well together, and it can serve a lot of people when we can look through this lens and, yeah, bridge these two topics. So, yeah,
Yeah.
happy to be here.
And you have Luminous Astrology, and I found you exactly for the reason you're just saying there, that you have a background in psychology. And you say on your websites, I really like the way that you wrote this. You say, I have been using astrology for almost 2 decades. Being born into a family of esoteric contemplatives fostered in me a curiosity in all things mysterious, occult, or that dwells in the unconscious. And there we have the bridging already, because, well, it's everything in the unconscious, right? And then it's just, yeah, how you deal with all of that. Anyway, welcome. I'm glad you're here, and I'd love to hear how you do that bridging, how you work with your background in psychology and now astrology, and everything else. We also talked about, we should maybe also just like talk about the eclipse going on and all of that. But first of all, just like introduce your work to the listeners and to me.
Yeah. Well, I have a background in mental health counseling, Master's of Arts in Counseling Psychology. And in true um, astrology, I was studying mental health counseling. I was on a marriage and family therapy track, and then Uranus crossed my MC, and I had a complete shift in career. I started diving deeply into astrology, and it's been in my 10th house for the last 7 years. It's just now dipping out, and I'm bringing back the mental health counseling. So it's just sort of funny when you see astrology show up so literally in your own life. But yeah, it might be helpful to sort of share how I got here. As you said, I grew up in this family of esoteric contemplatives, and my mom was the administrator at a Waldorf school, so very much into Steiner philosophy. My dad's a therapist. He leads mindfulness and contemplative circles. My mom does something similar.
That's
And she,
wonderful. That's so
yeah,
wonderful. Well, just that's a quality in and of itself, a qualification that you have, just being around them and following their journey, I assume.
yeah, absolutely. And now my mom is well, she was a hospice chaplain and has just transitioned into I'm trying to remember what it's called. Music thanatology, so playing music for people who are dying. So I've been in this soup my whole life. Um, I don't think it was a mistake that I was born into this family. But even besides growing up in that particular culture, I've always just been an observer, and I've always um, kind of felt like I didn't quite understand how this whole thing worked. Like I remember just being really young and watching everyone around me, watching the social norms, watching children play, listening to the adults, and trying to make sense of it. Like, why are we doing this? What is the purpose? Um, and it wasn't until 2014, and I had a health crisis, which I think a lot of us have some sort of crisis that really launches us down these paths. And I started working with an energy healer, that all these pieces started really coming together. And we had a session one time, and she went really deep into the work. And afterwards came out and was like, we got to this place where what you showed me was that you're a reluctant incarnate. And nothing has resonated more for me.
I feel that,
So
really feel
you
that. And yeah.
Reluctant incarnate.
Mm.
Um,
She did
so
not come here.
I did not want to come here, and I don't get it. I don't understand. So many social conventions don't make sense to me. So I think I went down the path of mental health counseling as well as astrology to try to make sense of this, to try to understand um, how to, um, yeah, how to make sense of the human condition.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, and that sounds like that resonates for you as well.
No, absolutely. And I'm also thinking of our chat. Did I even send you mine? I don't remember. But um, can I say a little bit about yours? Is that okay?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. Just the thing that you have, that you are Leo, but it's in the 12th house.
Hmm.
And I'm a Pisces with Leo rising
Mm.
and a big fifth house. So it's that blend of wanting to be seen and not wanting to be seen at one level, but at a deeper level, it's also the struggle of, yeah, incarnating. Like, do I
Hmm.
really want to be here? But then you do want to be here because you have so much to give in a sense. But in the beginning, it's like it's not what I expected.
No, it's not comfortable. Like these meat suits like require so much and
Yeah.
um yeah, and it's but it's been a teacher for me as well, the being in a body that hasn't always been very comfortable, having this sort of invisible illness, Neptune and Saturn in my sixth house has, fostered in me a lot of empathy for other people wherever
Mm.
they are. And so I think that's been really useful. And um, yeah, I'm curious. You're Leo rising as well. What degree is your ascendant?
It's I actually don't really look at it because I know it's not accurate. Don't have
Okay.
the exact time, so I try not to hang too tightly on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just curious because people with Leo ascendants, we have Saturn rising in our charts right now. We've got Pluto and Aquarius opposing. So it's a big time for us.
Oh, you
And
mean you mean Saturn on the MC, or what are you talking about there?
yeah, so I look at Saturn in the chart as far as, where we are in our career cycle and what how we are being called to engage with the world. And so Saturn, when it's rising, we're being really called out into the world, and it's really interesting. Of course, we're in these transformational times right now. So much synchronicity. We can talk about that. It might be interesting. So a lot of Leo risings are really being called out, called into the world. And I see that with the work that you're offering and that you're providing is um, a real lighthouse for people, probably in this time where things feel so uncertain.
It's I just I can't understand sometimes where we are. I'm like, why are we not further with this?
Hmm.
So like today, because I'm looking for a new job, I'm working in drug rehabilitation, and and I actually really love it. I love doing therapy with these people. It goes straight to my heart, right? But I have to stop where I am, and I'm looking for something else. And I had a long conversation with someone I called today in another rehabilitation center, and um, and everything was going great. And he was like speaking for a long time, so I was like getting my hopes up. It sounds so good, but then in the end, he goes, "Yeah, by the way, we only use cognitive behavioral therapy here."
Mm,
I'm like, what? Why?
yeah.
Why would you only use that? And I kind of tried to challenge it a little bit, like I mean, I guess what I'm doing is kind of based on top of that or something, because it's all on shoulders of each other anyway. But he was like really firm on that. Um, yeah, so
Yeah.
why? And that's just not even talking about astrology, but just our methods are so, I want to say primitive, but like, and it's great because cognitive behavioral therapy would be understanding your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions, and different models to do that. And I think that's great, psychoeducationally. But to really get to know yourself, uh, what I do is very different than that.
Yeah. Yeah, I found that as well. I felt pretty quickly disenchanted with the mental health field because I felt really trapped in the industry of it and not feeling like we were actually able to. I wasn't able to meet people and do the work that I was really wanting to. We got stuck in this talk therapy I was noticing, and I'm feeling like I'm not connecting with the whole person and I'm not connecting with the whole body. And I think that was why I stepped away from the field for a little while and why I started exploring other modalities so that I can get a better sense of the whole person and ways to support, like not just the intellect. Um, we're so in our heads. And how do we drop more into the body and how do we connect to the different levels of self? Um,
Yeah. Yeah, and so
yeah.
you went on that journey into the all of the alternative. Astrology is just one thing for you, right? You
Mhm.
also do Reiki healing, and what else do you do?
Astrology is the main one. But I've done plant medicine and Reiki, and I'm just beginning to embark on sound healing with tuning forks. I found that the tuning forks, a lot of them are tuned to the different planets. And
Yeah.
I thought, wow, that is so cool and so interesting. And yeah, energy work, things like that. But mostly it's astrology. And I think of even like before all of that, it's the work that I'm doing on myself, you know, when I'm sitting with someone, the more that I've expanded my own awareness, the more that I can drop in, the more work I'm doing on myself, the more I'm able to offer. So I think of my therapeutic astrology lens is how it can come through me, how I can sit with someone um,
Mm,
first and foremost.
yeah, and so and then you said you went back into counseling. Is that did you study anything after that, or did you just start? Oh, yeah, what do you mean? How was your journey here in the end?
Yeah, well, when Uranus crossed my MC, I just felt like so trapped by the mental health world. And I just wanted to completely divorce myself from that field. I felt that it was too rigid. I felt boxed in by it. And I let my license retire and I went fully into alternative medicines. But of course, I went to school for this, so it's already in me. And it's a bridge because it's a more common language for people. People are often unsure of astrology, but they're more comfortable with the idea of therapy. So I've started bringing that back in. Also, to be clear about the way that I want to use astrology, a lot of, you can see an astrologer for anything. It's amazing. You can have medical astrology, you can have esoteric astrology, you can have Uranian. I mean, there's just endless ways to work with it. But what I like to do is use it as a way to gain more consciousness and awareness into ourselves. How can, like, let's really slow it down. This is our chart. So this is our lens of seeing the world. And this is kind of how we operate on an unconscious level. And when we're stuck or things aren't going very well, we can look at our chart and see sort of our orientation and then use the transits to illuminate what opportunities are for us to bring more awareness in. So I really like to use that to slow us down. Like, okay, so you've got a Pluto transit and you're feeling this, you're having these power struggles with someone. What's the fear? What's the survival piece that's underneath that's coming up, right? Because Pluto's going to be triggering our survival responses. And the control that we feel like we need to have in our life to protect ourselves. Well, how much of that is an illusion? How much of that is real? So really
Good.
slowing
Yeah,
down.
that's really good. I like that. Ah,
Yeah.
it's that's very deep, right?
hmm
Right there you have it. Yeah. And once you can contextualize that, like put it into your own life, that's where it's powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, I can use myself as an example. If you looked at my chart and you looked at the transits, I have every outer planet aspecting three personal planets, and soon it will be aspecting two personal points. So I've
I was
become
like, what is going on? I'm like,
yeah,
a major thing is going on. Yeah.
major, yeah. So I'm getting really acquainted with Pluto, and um, and I've been sitting with it like, okay, getting these waves of intense emotion, Pluto, and then I sit with it and I go, okay, some of this is grief, some of this is um, fear, some of this is ego, some of this is old wounds, attachment, trauma, Pluto stuff, and just being able to separate it out. So it's not just the emotion. Now I can see I've got these different pieces that I'm working with, and you know, is this fear real? Is it old? Um, and breathing through it. So that's how I like to
Mm.
um, bring that kind of therapy mindfulness work into the astrology.
Yeah. And it doesn't take away the realness of the
No, unfortunately, no.
of the struggle, right? But it's a way to, yeah, to like see, like what I'm hearing, like it's a mirror of what's going on inside of you is actually what's happening outside. It has to be that way because it's in our chart.
Yes.
So it's like you're talking about, it's in our filter. This is how we perceive the world. So there's no other way than it somehow has to do with me.
Yeah, and it gives you choice too, and it makes you feel less overwhelmed when you can see it, and then you can move in a way that's in alignment with your values. And I
Yeah,
think it's all about just continuously slowing down, um, so that you're moving through the world with conscious action, you know? Um, yeah.
yeah. So maybe actually we should shift a little bit to speak about the times we're in right now.
Yes.
Um, and I mean, I saw you had a podcast on it. Well,
Yeah.
the Astro Attunement podcast.
The Astro Attunement podcast. So
Wonderful.
I've been studying with an astrologer named Rosie Finn for a really long time. And she wrote a book, Persephone's Revolution, Pluto's Path to the End of the Empire. And she's been looking at this time period,
Yeah,
2025 to 2035, for over 20 years. She's been studying it. She's been studying this Pluto out of bounds cycle. And she wrote, yeah, this incredible book. And and not only is Pluto going out of bounds, or it is out of bounds right now, and it will be kind of off and on over the next 10 years, but there's all this other synchronicity that's happening as well. We have all of the outer planets at early degrees of air and fire. They're all aspecting each other. That's very rare. We have Saturn and Neptune making this conjunction at the Aries point, which signifies to me this major ending, major new beginnings. We also have, as we're crossing this threshold in 2025, the eclipse cycle that we're in is Pisces Virgo. So to me, it's major closing outs, major endings, and moving into these um, transformational times because Pluto is, all about transformation, regeneration. But when it's out of bounds, that doesn't happen very often. I have to look at her book, but I want to say the last time was like 2000 years ago, or
Oh.
it's some, I might be getting that wrong, but that's some very rare occurrence.
I can't even help you because I'm not tracking really the out of bounds sus. You know,
Yeah.
there's so many details. I have to filter some of them out. So I'm hearing you, but I can't help you with the fact there. But
Yeah.
the point is that it happens very rare. Yeah.
Very rare. Yep.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. So, um, and we can feel it, right? We can look around and we feel it. Like fe things don't feel, um, they don't feel secure. They don't feel concrete. It feels like we're in this unknown time. Like, Uranus in the, I don't know where you are in the world, um, but in the US last year we had the Pluto return of the United States. Now we have the Uranus return. Every time we've had the Uranus return, we've had war. Um, that's a lot of synchronicity, and you can feel that anxiety in the culture of like things feel out of control, and
Yeah.
which way is it going to sort of fall? So I started this podcast with a friend who's a yoga instructor to support people's nervous systems as we're moving through this year so that we can drop into our bodies and be in the moment that we're in. What is the actual um, energy, the astrological energy that's with us right now that we can tap into to align in this moment, um, so that we can move into this time period feeling more grounded and that our nervous systems are more supported because
Can you answer that? Because I'd like to know that. You know?
how to do it.
Yeah. What can
Yeah.
so what you're saying is what energy can we tune into
Hmm.
to flow more with the time that we're in? Is that
Yeah. Yeah. So for each chart and each person, it's a little bit different, but mostly we've been going through the seasons. So we're in Virgo season right now. So this is the time to be um, really paying attention to our health, to be creating these really strong self-care rituals for us, to be refining and editing our projects. Of course, this particular Virgo season is a little bit more stormy because we just had the eclipses. We had one yesterday, Pisces, Virgo. So that brings in another layer. Pisces, of course, we're looking at that axis of mental health and physical health. So we want to look at, where we need to be setting boundaries. Pisces there's always some element of letting go and release. What are the sort of ways that we've been in relationship where we've kind of overextended into service at the cost of ourselves, maybe fallen into some of that martyrdom? Where do we need to bolster up our boundaries a little bit more? I think I've been noticing around me a lot of people have been getting really sick. I also have been overhearing a lot of conversations around substance use and kind of trying to come more into balance in those ways as well.
Mhm.
And we had Jupiter in its exaltation in Cancer, which I think was really supportive. So while we're doing this, there's that healing balm from Jupiter that's softening the emotional turmoil of the eclipse and allowing some healing and some growth opportunities to come through.
I like that. I like that. So it's really seeing what can be helpful in these times and in that is so uncontrollable for us because yeah, we do have those shifts in the outer planets and now Saturn is back in Pisces.
Hmm.
So so something is wrapping up somehow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's how I've been looking at it as well. Something is wrapping up, something that we were closing out. Maybe what was it 6 months ago? We're revisiting. Um, yeah, it's really felt like this whole year. we had all of those retrograde planets in December, and I think of the winter season. I like to think of the seasons in general as well, of like the time when we're going inward and being more reflective, and we were extra called into that because we had all these retrograde planets during that time, and then Saturn closing out. So there's something that we just haven't quite finished closing out, and we're just kind of um, and it's confusing too, right? Because we have Neptune there. So
Yeah.
there's some element of, you know, that makes it challenging around trying to understand our reality, trying to understand exactly what we're closing out, what needs to be dissolving.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, but something foundational anyway. And for me, in my transition, I mean, I'm looking for a job, so that's very concrete, and that that's a match with the energy.
mhm,
But I've also known the astrology, right, through this whole process of quitting my job and regretting to have quit it. And there's been a lot of ups and downs with it. I've known the astrology, and I've kind of, yeah, just put that together of, I mean, I guess I've some leaders did go, some there was some of that, but I guess I've hoped a little bit more for some of the top hierarchy to fall, because that
mhm.
you want potential.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm still waiting for that.
You and me both.
Maybe I have another job by then, and who knows. So I mean,
Mhm,
it's hard to, it is really hard. Astrology is difficult. We have to use our imagination, right? We don't know, but we use our imagination and we contextualize it to try to see what's going on, and then we can weave it in there. So it's easier to see in your own life, is just what I'm saying, right? Because you know what's going on there, and then you can
mhm,
put it together with the astrology. But to say something for everyone, well, like you said, that is going to be a little bit different. But definitely some some endings are going on, and I think I like your advice about editing, going
mhm.
going into the projects that you have and working on them, bringing some
Yeah.
to that. Yeah.
And it's, I think also there's an element of, and I struggle to say this because I struggle with trust myself, but that is what Pisces is about. It's about trusting the universe. And so there is some element of letting go and trusting that the universe is going to bring something forward. And that is so hard for me to say because it's, yeah. But
Yeah.
I will share, I was working with someone who has a lot of planets in Virgo and Pisces. So this eclipse was um, showing up personally in their life, and they've been struggling with health issues for years. And during this time, where they were coming up against these questions related to financial security and feeling like what they have been doing was um, falling into that shadow qualities of Virgo, this overextending into service in a way that wasn't really feeling in alignment for them anymore. But they had this financial scarcity, and but it felt so wrong. They knew that it was out of alignment, and they had this um, download yesterday during the eclipse, which, you know, if you are able to slow down, that's one of the opportunities in an eclipse is you can really get those. And she realized this pattern, and she took that step and letting go of this position, even though she didn't have anything else lined up. And later that same, oh, she immediately um, felt better in some of her chronic illness. She just was like, oh, I don't have a migraine today. And um, her partner got a job came through that was going to support them all in the same day. I mean, that's
Yeah.
not you can't expect that, but it is. Um,
It is a potent energy,
mhm,
and stuff can happen and will happen. And I'm really with you on the trust thing. I have to
mhm.
mention our signature again. Actually, okay, you can leave that one, because otherwise I have something here going
What's
on.
that?
Were you finished with your story? Because I'm
Oh
just
yeah.
interrupting. It's okay. So the thing about the Leo Pisces is it's actually every sun, because the sun is to do with Leo, right? It is associated with the sign of Leo, and then Pisces. So it's every sun sign in Pisces is actually to do with what you have with Leo in the 12th house. Do you get what I'm going at?
Hmm.
Maurice Fernandez was my teacher and is my teacher, and he's doing that thing where he correlates the houses and yeah, and the signs like that. So and it's so so we're talking about trusting, and yet we're trying to find ourselves and express ourselves, and it's so difficult because ourselves are swallowed up by the 12th house or Pisces, right? It's that archetype of the greater, the unknown, where we cannot control. So you see that it's such a paradox, actually. What I would say is we share that archetype.
Hmm.
And then the other thing that I wanted to actually ask you about, I just remembered when you were talking about earlier with times not being secure, that we are not secure here. We are in the generation of Pluto in Scorpio, right?
Hmm.
And I'd love to ask you about this because it's not that often that I speak with Pluto in Scorpios, and and so that's another symbol of I can probably not trust this, what's going on. So I hope I know I'm not very clear in the whole Leo Pisces field, but uh, my point there is just that you kind of want to go into the world, and then what you experience is often I cannot control stuff. And so, of
Hmm.
course, that can bring a crisis in faith as well. And with the Pluto in Scorpio, it's just, well, betrayal and all that sort of dark stuff, experiencing that things are not what they seem on the outside. So I wonder, how do you differentiate that internal? We're actually talking about this because we're talking about everything is a mirror of ourselves, right? So, but how can you say that it is actually now the world is not feeling secure? It could also be just us.
Mm.
Because the Scorpios, the Pluto in the generation here that who has Pluto in Scorpio is of course going through this square of Pluto in Aquarius right now.
Mhm.
So that is not that is a shaky ground to be on. So is it the world or is it just us? How do we see the difference?
That's a good question. I think it's the world. I mean, you just see what's going on in the news and it's impacting everybody. I mean, in the US, the immigration raids, what's going on in Gaza,
Sure.
um, trans rights being taken away, schools. I would assume everyone and everyone that I'm in my circle that I'm talking to, the anxiety levels are so high, so high. Um, and I think that's feeling scared, insecure, unsure about their safety, about what is going on on a global level. And also, um, we're energetic beings. So there is fear in the collective. I think that which is the other reason why I have that podcast to help people. Um, Hopefully, the goal is to help people sort of soothe their nervous systems because if we're in such an activated state at all times, it's really hard to um, to to make change, and we're also then energizing more of that fear state. Whereas when we can when we can ground, that we have more access to creativity and creative solutions, and then we can energize the reality that we want to see, which I think is also part of this Saturn Neptune. Each of these transits are bringing in lots of different qualities, but I think one of the Saturn Neptune pieces is like, what is the new reality that you want to vision into the world? And I think there's a lot of potential right now. One of the things you asked me is like, what am I excited about or what feels meaningful for me right now. And I do think, as uncertain as these times are, I think there's also a lot of potential to be to innovate, to for paradigm shifts, for creative alternatives. Like when something is destroyed, there's room for something else in its place. And on lots of different levels, I think um, our status quo um, has not been good for a long time. We're just seeing the shadow come out. Um, but it's not, we don't want to go back to normal or what was before. That wasn't in our highest either.
For sure. Yeah, something else is building. And I also think when you just say paradigm shift, I mean, that is a huge thing, right? We're just using the word because it's been used a lot in different contexts, but really it's so fundamental to, well, that would be huge, right? If
Mhm.
our collective paradigm would shift to something less material. We could hope.
Yeah. Yeah, I think um, I can see it in the way that people are examining relationships. I think there's a shift happening there. Um, I don't know if this podcast has reached you, but there's a podcast that just like went skyrocketed to the top. It's called The Telepathy Tapes.
Yeah.
And the
Yes.
way that, I mean, I'm not surprised about the telepathy, but the way that it um, has been consumed on the mainstream level is interesting to me.
Yeah.
And
That has
yeah,
been
so
so well. Yeah.
mhm, that's kind of some of the paradigm shifts I'm thinking about.
Yeah. Yeah. Great.
Hmm.
Yeah. So it's different small ways all adding up, adding together. Yeah, I'm glad for your answer because maybe it was a little narrow answer to say, is it just us? But because of course it's not just us. Of course it's not just us. But it but there is something that maybe affects us more this generation. How do you see it? How do you see the Scorpio and Pluto Scorpio generation?
Hmm. That's a good question. I'm curious, when you ask it, what you're thinking of first, maybe.
Well, I'm thinking that Pluto in Aquarius is squaring it right now.
Right.
Of course, it depends on your degrees, but just per sign.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be, well, of course, it could be a personal crisis, but let's just hope that we've had enough of those.
Mm-hmm.
Not just being born with that. Um, but um, but also that something comes up to the surface of
Yeah.
what's maybe that we could see all along, or that we are designed to be able to tune into, that
Mm-hmm.
then reaches the collective, and that could be it. That could be something like power abuse, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then brought up from someone like us. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it makes me think about sort of what I said just a little bit ago about how the corruption has been going on for so long, but it's only now that the veil is being pulled back. And so that could be part of that Pluto square to Scorpio, just like you said, revealing the shadow, the secrets, the corruption, the abuse, the trauma, having that all, yeah, rise to the surface for the collective to heal and to do things differently.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And of course, we're talking about also therapeutic astrology. So we have to look at our own demons as well.
Hmm.
And I'm finding in my own life, and I'm also remembering you mentioned synchronicities, and we wanted to get back to that. So maybe we can go into that after. But just wanted to mention that I'm finding myself also healing through friendships. So I find
Yes.
that Scorpio Aquarius as well, like
Yeah.
because in the friendship, close friendships, right? Honest close friendships where we actually dare to say to each other what's going on and what am I getting from you, and yeah, just being open to being mirrored in that way, that's very healing. It can be very healing.
Yeah, I think that's really powerful. And something that I've noticed as well, that as we've been moving into these uncertain times, that people are wanting to build community networks more of like, you know, okay, you grow the vegetables, I'll I'll sew the clothes, but also just we've kind of become pretty isolated in a lot of ways, and the pandemic really um, exaggerated that, and with social media and all of this working from home, that I think people are now forced to be really intentional about um, leaning into their friendships and their communities in these new ways. So
Mm.
definitely, I see that as well. Um, there was something that you said that I wanted to follow up on, but I've lost it. Let me see
Was
if
it
it
the
comes back.
synchronicities? Was it that?
It was something else. Well, just see if it comes back.
Eclipse. Yeah. But
Oh.
earlier you had that thought of wanting to return to the synchronicities. Is it something that is that still around? The-
Yeah, well, just yeah, the just it's really we have all of these things happening at the same time. The Pluto out of bounds, the Pluto return of the United States, the Uranus return of the United States, not to be so US focused, but
Oh,
that's where I live. And it's the
yeah,
global,
US, exactly. US is
yeah,
like affecting everyone.
it's
So
affecting everyone. Yeah. All of the outer planets being at these early degrees, all in air and fire. So the energy is moving really fast, really quick. And they're aspecting each other. So they're working together. They're all on board for this transformation, for this innovation, for this collective shift. And um, the place of the eclipses as well. That's just so any one of those things on their own is significant, and for them all to be happening at the same time is synchronistic. Yeah.
that's what I mean. That's what I mean. Yeah, okay, I get that. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So there's no doubt. There's no doubt. These are grand times. And I like how you're also using the psychology and therapy to talk about the nervous system.
Hmm.
Talking to my clients today about how would you react if this is this is sort of an exercise. How would you react if there's a big barking dog in front of you and it's like you get afraid of it, and the clients were, it's a group therapy thing. They were talking about, oh, I would just be curious and kind to it. And I was like, yeah, I wonder if you would, right? Because you would probably
Hmm.
activate it in your nervous system, right? And so the whole point with that exercise was like seeing that the dog is actually wounded and it's in pain, and we just don't know that when we meet it. And but then before we see that, before we realize that, we've reacted instinctively, because usually our nervous system is like that. And a thing that I'm also getting in these times, and I'm hearing a lot, I wonder if you do as well, is overstimulation. It's like people are constantly stimulated, right? So
Hmm.
yeah, so anyway, I like your focus on the nervous system. That's
Hmm.
that's a big part of what we do as therapists, isn't it? Actually.
Yeah. That's interesting. You're making me think of my daughter and her school. They have, I don't know if you've heard of this, the guard dog and the wise owl.
No, tell it, please. I don't know if
So this is a really cool way that they bring that social emotional learning at preschool and kindergarten level. They talk about how when you get really angry, that's your guard dog being activated, and we need to call on our wise owl. But you're just making me think when you talk about that story with the dog, that the dog is in a lot of pain, and it's barking as a self-protective way.
yeah.
That's our guard dog. It's got a purpose. We're grateful for the guard dog, but we don't want to make decisions from the guard dog. We want to call in our wise owl.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good. That's good. I'll share
Yeah.
time. Where's your owl? Yeah.
I'm curious for you. I mean, I don't know if you've talked about this on your podcast, but it's such a cool opportunity for me to meet someone else who's bridging these two things together. And how do you um, how do you offer therapeutic astrology? What does that
Yeah.
look like?
Yes, that is a wonderful question. Let's see if I can make it short. So I've tried different setups, and I'm very comfortable in what I'm doing now, which is separating it. In a
Hmm.
way, you were talking about bridging it, and now I'm separating it. But as for sessions, it is separated. And what I prefer is if people book, ideally, people book an astrology session first. And then,
Hmm.
because then we have the map, right? We have
Hmm.
had a conversation in depth about your astrology, and then we continue doing trauma therapy.
Hmm.
And then, of course, all along, I have the chart in the back of my mind. I never go into a therapy session, not in my regular day job either, without having a look at my client's chart,
Hmm.
because I find that irresponsible. I mean, it's all right there, like the keys, but the sessions are different. As an astrologer, I'll give information, but in therapy, I'm holding space for the process that's
Hmm.
going on pretty much on its own. I mean, I'm there with my higher self, and I'm
Hmm.
trained in asking and being empathic in a certain way.
Hmm.
But other than that, it's the client system who's doing the healing.
Hmm.
So in those therapeutic sessions, the astrology is just with me and guiding, my questions and my curiosity. But it's not like I give, oh, let's talk about Uranus, because you have to go through your emotions, right? It's a
Right.
different thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like they're both with you at all times, but one's the driver and the other one is in the back supporting and informing and
Yes. Well said.
yes.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
So now you answer the question.
Yeah, it's I do a little bit of both. So some people just want to book a session to find out, when might I meet someone, what's a supportive career, where am I in my career cycle, should I move, things like that. And for other people who are interested, I like to do a more um, kind of like therapy where we meet more regularly. And then it starts off with I ask questions so that, I can look at the chart and I have an idea of what's going on in their life, but, you know, uh, a Neptune square Venus can show up in lots of different ways. There's some key signatures, but let me talk to them and find out, how is it showing up for them? What are the patterns? What are the themes? What are the things that are kind of showing up as challenges right now in their life? And then we can work together, just kind of the same way that I talked about before of slowing down, bringing awareness, seeing where the transits are that are happening right now. So that's um, uh, the place where we have energy to work with to kind of grow and develop and expand that particular part of the chart.
Mm. There was a little lag there, but I think I got it.
Oh, there was a lag. Oh, shoot.
There was a little falling out, but yeah. So where there's energy, and like you were saying, Neptune and Venus and any aspect. I mean,
Any aspect, yeah.
it's so different, right? There's so many ways of living that out. So that's essential to ask questions and be in dialogue as
Hmm.
well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think of the chart as like, okay, here's our workbook. We can sit here together. It feels like it's a collaborative um, process where we're going to look at this together. I'm going to ask you questions and we're going to really understand your chart together. And then we're going to look at the energy that's available right now that's helping us evolve that particular aspect, bring more awareness into that particular aspect. Because I think about the chart and transits as endless opportunities to continue to grow and evolve because they're always going around. I mean, the moon goes through your whole chart every month, the sun every year. So each time it goes around, that's another opportunity to expand and grow, and it's ongoing.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, and I feel it is so perfect with the, the therapy because in astrology, I often come to that point after a session or in the end of a session, the client is like, but then what should I do about it, right? What should I
Hmm.
do about it? And I can answer that, and maybe I've answered that for the whole hour. I mean, but it's not enough because you got to go through it. And that's
Hmm.
where I feel therapy can take you. Like in-depth therapy can really work on those changes that can only be done internally.
Right.
So it's not at all squeezing astrology out of the picture at all. It's because some would maybe hear it like that. Oh, you could just do therapy then. But no, I think astrology is the whole magical component that
Hmm.
very motivating as well. Like we're talking about with the Pluto square, whatever is going on in our chat, just to see it from that perspective is it that's magical, and that's it's a part of healing. It's not just mental, it's talking to me. Don't you know that feeling like it's talking to me on different levels,
Hmm.
and then doing that in-depth therapeutic work. So that's because you're asking me questions. I but okay, let me hear from you. What do you love about putting it together? All
Putting
the
the astrology together. I
Mm,
think, yeah, I just any opportunity to feel like I'm connecting with more of a person.
mm,
Um, so it's not just, it doesn't have to be just astrology. There's other modalities out there. Some people are really interested in the in human design or the Enneagram or different, the sound healing and things like that. We're so, the more that we can get our lens to expand to see someone more fully, I think is really useful. And that's the astrology to me, that language makes sense to me. And I also think um, it can take a really long time sometimes in therapy to get someone's full story. And I think it's really useful in the relationship building to take that time to do that. But it's also nice to see right in front of you. Okay, I know they've got a stellium in the eighth house. I know we're going to need to go there.
yeah,
And um, yeah, it's a wonderful tool. It's
yeah.
a beautiful thing to have.
Well, that's a great answer. Yeah, that there are some shortcuts in it as well. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, and I'm curious for you. So one job just ended. You're
yeah,
looking at another job. Do
yeah.
you have
What do you
a
predict for me? What do you predict?
well, I need to see your chart, but I'm curious, do you have a sense of where you're being called to step further into? Do you
I relate to your friend with being a bit anxious. I feel that from my Scorpio, Pluto, Scorpio, fourth house energy. It's that's underneath. I do feel that anxiety, but then on some higher levels of me, I feel um I feel that I know it's going to work out, and I'm doing this new podcast in Danish
Mm-hmm.
about mysticism, and
Mm-hmm.
um I feel really called to be on the spiritual journey, and I think
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I need to focus on that, and not
Yeah.
and being in the unknown for a little bit, and then focus, and then trying to calm, like you speaking about, calm my nervous system, calm the anxiety, being like, it's okay, okay, yeah, you're terrified because everything can go wrong. That's how this part of me sees it anyway. Calming that, and then going with what I know, because you're asking about what is opening up, right? Nothing practical is opening up. Nothing you can make money off
Mm-hmm.
of is opening up. But spiritually, a lot of things is opening up for me.
Right.
A lot. And so I just gotta go with that, and I just gotta see what happens.
Yeah. That makes sense. I mean, only knowing that you're a Leo rising, I know that Saturn and Neptune are in your ninth house, right? So there's that spiritual studies.
Right on my MC actually. That's what I, because you were talking about Saturn rising before. I was like, did she talk about the MC? I'm not sure. But
Yeah, well, just being in the top half of the chart. Yeah. So then your career, you're entering into a peak career moment, career cycle. Um, during these transformational times, if you've got Saturn up at the top of your chart, like you're here to help guide us through it. So there's something about what you're offering that is going to be supporting the collective. And just from this conversation in your podcast, Therapeutic Astrology, when people are having a hard time, that's going to be such a lighthouse. So, um,
hey, wonderful. So glad
yeah.
to hear. I'm so glad to hear.
Yeah.
I should be reading you, but it's like I don't even want to go there. It's just, it's just major transformations, right? And like your
Yeah.
whole identity is, I mean, you cannot cling on to anything. That's how I see it. What do you think you are? You
Yeah.
got that.
I know. Sun in the 12th and I've got of course the same as you, Pluto in the 4th. I definitely prefer to be behind the scenes. I prefer to be the interviewer. So
Okay,
this
that's okay. Okay, that's what I'm feeling.
but I received this invitation from you and I thought, yes, this is the time to say yes to everything. So let's
I'm
try
so,
something new.
I'm so glad you did.
Yeah,
It
me
was
too.
really wonderful speaking to you, and yeah, yeah, it is just warming my heart that to meet someone who's passionate in these things as well, and who's taking it in another direction. Taking what in another direction? I guess just how we view the human psyche.
Hmm.
Yeah, and what
Yeah, I feel the same.
mm. Gabrielle Perez, thank you so much. Luminous Astrology, I will link people to you. How often do you publish? Do you have?
Yeah, I was doing weekly episodes where I was interviewing some guests. Life got a little bit busy, so it's now just a monthly podcast. Yeah.
I'm completely off any regularity. It's
That's
time.
okay.
It's time to just calling for whenever you feel like it. Come.
Totally.
Yeah. Thank you.
Uh, Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to talk to you. It was such a treat and really nice to meet you and so cool seeing someone else holding this same space and topic. And these are really wonderful conversations that you're sharing with us all. So thank you.